This is the Phoenix mind, where the fire refines, break the chains and rise to shine. Rise on the lead with heart, every end a brand new start. With Lisa Manzo, we transform, we ignite. This is the Phoenix mind.
Hi, welcome to the Phoenix Mind podcast. I'm Lisa Manzo. This is where we get to the real talk. We talk through the messy, the meaningful, and the transformational work, the rise from the ashes moments through emotional intelligence that gets you results. And today, my lovely guest is Rohanna Doylida, and I'm going to read you her bio so I don't miss a thing. Rohanna Doylida is a brand strategist for Second Career Women and the founder of the True Voice Brand Mastery Mentorship. With a background as rich and varied as performing on Chicago stages, running a gluten-free and dairy-free bakery, teaching in classrooms, Rohanna brings a soul-deep understanding of human connection, storytelling, and reinvention. And welcome to my podcast, Rohanna.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me here. This is wonderful.
I'm so excited for your story because, I read it. You sent me a little bit about your story, but I want you to share it with your audience because you've reinvented yourself 4 times, and I can relate to that because I've reinvented myself 7. So
Wow.
I count being a mom as one of them, though, and most people that was a whole different world for me. So I still count it as one. So I think you might want to add one to
Yes.
your list.
Put me at 5. Okay, put me at 5.
Because let me tell you, when I became a mom, they have that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting,
Yeah,
right?
I
They need a
remember that
book
book. Yeah,
that says what to expect at being a mom. I should write that book. Anyway, so
you should. Um,
please share your story with our audience so they can relate and they can see what you've overcome, and then we can talk about the emotions and the emotional intelligence that you had to do all these things.
I'm happy to. So I started off as an actor. I actually have a degree in acting.
Really?
And I spent 10 years on the Chicago stages, doing plays and musicals and comedies and dramas and everything. And I left the stage when my youngest son was diagnosed with celiac disease. And this was back in like 2002. So nobody had ever heard those words before. Nobody knew what gluten-free was. It was a completely, now it's everywhere. But back then, it was not. And I had to figure things out. I had to figure out how to keep him safe. I mean, think about how integral food is to every social thing we do. Whether it's a birthday, any sort of celebration, a holiday, kids' parties, the class gets a pizza party for doing something great. No matter what it is, food is such an integral part of it. And suddenly he can't have almost any of it. So I had to figure things out, and it was not easy at the time. Um, they set up an appointment for me. The pediatric gastroenterologist sets up an appointment for me with a nutritionist. I took a legal pad in with me. I had pages. I had more than 3 pages of questions on it, and I came away with 2 answers. They knew nothing at the time. So I had to figure this out. And his birthday was coming up, and I couldn't buy him a birthday cake. And I knew that if I couldn't, that meant there was other parents that couldn't either. Um, and that was where the bakery came from, was a need. My child needed something. And you know what us mamas are like. Nothing's going to stop us doing for our babies. So that was transition number 1.
Is
And
that why
that was,
you stopped acting?
yeah, I had to. This needed full-time attention. And when I realized that I was going to have to start the bakery, then that really, I mean, I didn't know how to, I was not a baker. I didn't know how to bake, let alone bake gluten and dairy free. And we decided on dairy free, my partner and I, because 80% of our customers were dairy free as well as gluten free. So it just made sense. But I had to figure out how to bake. I had to learn how to decorate cakes. I had to learn how to run a business and advertise and market and customer service. I mean, I had to learn the whole thing, but I jumped in, and that was the biggest one. That was really my biggest transition. That first one really turned my world upside down. And then after the bakery closed, the recession in 2008 just did us in. Um, After the bakery closed, I didn't know what to do with myself. For the first time in my life, I didn't have a direction, a clear plan. And I bounced around doing a few different jobs. I ran a health club. I worked at a, retail shop. I, tried all these different things. And then my daughter, who's a preschool teacher, said to me, "Well, come sub. We need subs, at the school all the time." So I thought, all right, well, I've never had any desire to teach, but okay, it's something to do and I'll give it a try. And I had no idea what I was in for that day. I had no idea what was going to happen. And I just fell head over heels in love. I mean, with everything, with the children, with the structure, with the learning, with everything. And ultimately, I wound up going back to school so that then I could be a teacher myself. And I've spent almost 10 years now teaching, and I love it. That, it has given me so much. I have grown so much as a person, helping other little people grow. But none of these careers were ever what you might call lucrative. I never made any money. So that's when I really knew that I needed to change. Something needed to change. And I discovered digital marketing, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. And I started with affiliate marketing, and it was a complete failure, an utter and complete failure. And it was because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just copying what other people did, what they claimed was working for them. And it took some time to understand that the teacher in me, the communicator in me, and the businesswoman in me all needed to come together to help other women to grow. And that is what I do.
That's so beautiful. So let's talk about so I want to talk about when you had to give up your career. And how did that feel? That had to be huge.
There was so much emotionally happening at the time. When your child gets a diagnosis of anything serious. I mean, we get upset when our kids get strep throat, or something. But that kind of diagnosis that was really going to impact the entirety of his life, there's a lot of emotions that come from that. Fear, there's a mourning process. You have to mourn the life that you had planned for your child, that you imagined for your child, that is not going to be there.
What I'm
And
talking
you,
about for you. What did you have to mourn for you when you gave up what you got your degree in acting, and that was for you? Because I know that as a mom, because I'm a mom too, I'll do anything for my children,
yeah,
anything at all. So a lot of moms who are like us, not all moms are like us, will do anything for their children because it's for them. So how did you get through that part where you had to give up something you absolutely loved? How did you get through
I
that?
didn't because at the moment I wasn't thinking about it. At the moment, all I could do was focus on what needed to be done. It
Okay.
wasn't honestly until a little bit later, once things were moving, once things were set up, once things were going, that I had the mental capacity to to take that time and that space and actually think about what had just happened in my life. And there was a part of me that was like, that's fine. I'm fine. It's absolutely fine. The theater will always be there. There is always another season. But there was also a part of me that was just sad. Just sad. I lost such, it was the place that I planned to be. You know, from the time I was little, it was what I had always wanted and dreamed of. And it was just getting rolling, really, when it stopped. I had had other points in earlier in my career that as well that directions had to shift. I didn't move out to New York. I had to stay in Chicago because my mom was very sick and I needed to be where she was. And so there'd been a few times when putting other people's needs just had to come first. And taking care of my feelings had to come later. And I think to some degree, we still process that even years later. You know, that's why I really feel blessed that it's a part of what I do. If I'm speaking to people, if I am telling my story, this is all part of a large part of what I learned in acting school, you know?
Do tell a little bit more about that. How does it connect? Connect it for me because I'm not seeing it.
So I'm comfortable talking in front of people. I am a storyteller. So I am not afraid. A lot of women, especially women who are needing to deal with social media, are so uncomfortable because they're afraid of being seen. They don't feel comfortable with people really seeing who they are or even being the center of attention.
Yeah.
I have no problem being the center of attention. Or, you know, or talking. It's important to be able to read your audience, to understand your audience, and to feel the energy that comes from them and respond to it. I learned how to think on my feet because in live theater, you never know what's going to happen.
Uh-huh.
I've learned to be able to constantly look at, I learned this is, well, life is, you keep learning, but when I would do a show for 3 months at a time, it's the same show, but every audience who comes in has not seen it. So you can't just go through it by rote. It has to be alive. It always has to be alive. So no matter how many times I talk now about my story, I'm telling it to you from my heart. I'm inside of it in the moment for real and bringing that to sharing what you know my life has been like, what my story has been and how it's led me here to help others.
How do you help other women now? Because I know you help other women. It's in your bio. You help other women. So let's talk about that. What do you do for them?
When women switch careers, especially in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and I got to be honest, men feel this too. I just feel drawn to working with women and sharing with women and helping women. But you feel there's all these different emotions that come with this. Big one is imposter syndrome. feeling like I don't even know what I'm doing. Why should anybody listen to me? Everybody else seems to have it together. Why don't I? At my age, here I am trying to figure things out. Shouldn't I know what I'm doing already? There's an element of shame in there.
Mm.
People will say, "You left a perfectly good corporate career to do what?" They don't necessarily understand
Yeah.
what individual, what each individual woman is going through. And a lot of this leads to feeling like you don't have credibility, feeling like you are starting from scratch.
How do you help people through that?
Nobody's ever starting from scratch. So we can't start from scratch. We've lived too long. There's been too much. We couldn't, if we wanted to, we couldn't start from scratch. But sorry, when you start looking back at your past, at the careers you've had, at the life experiences you've had, at all of the different things that have led you to now, as women, we tend to just disregard them. We tend to say, well, that was then, and more is expected. My worth, my sense of worth is only in what I'm doing now. I need to do more. But the fact is that we have so many skills. We have so many talents. We have learned so much. And by bringing all of that from the past, in, I call it the wisdom bridge, by coming across that bridge and bringing that into what you're doing now, that actually creates your competitive advantage. That's what makes you distinct in whichever field you're in, because it doesn't matter what we're doing, right? Whether it's doing a podcast or it is being real estate or travel or an entrepreneur in some different way, shape, or form, whatever it is, it's what we've learned in the past that brings something unique to how we're doing it now. And no matter what the field is, there are so many people doing it. I mean,
That's true.
there's so many people. So you have to find a way to stand out from the crowd. And this is what brings your credibility, your authority, and your uniqueness to your new career.
Uh, that's really interesting. So, we talked a little bit earlier. So you're on your fifth career, I'm on my seventh. And so, and it's our life experiences that guide us, right? So when my father was late 30s, early 40s, he had to change directions because the career that he was doing, he was in construction, and back then nobody was building anything. So he got laid off and he had to find a new job. So he did. And what a beautiful, in him doing that, because I was about 12 at the time, I want to think. I'm going to just guess. And me seeing that at that age, and I'm like, oh, I can change it anytime. That's why I have set. That's why I'm on number 7 with a smile on my face. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I did this long enough. Let me try something different. And then, so I've been a teacher like you. I am a
Yeah.
nurse now.
Mhm.
And now I'm doing what I love. I love talking to people. I love hearing people's stories. And I just love it. And I love teaching. Teaching children is not my thing. I like teaching adults. I like teaching people that want to learn, right? And one of the gifts that I have was, like, I asked you, tell me more about that because I never heard about that. And I'll be the first one to say it. And that gives other people courage to say, I don't know anything about that. Can you educate me instead of pretending? I'm not a pretender. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. You want to explain it, or should we move on to another topic? It,
I love that.
no, but that's really what it is, because if you don't want to explain to me what you're talking about, I can't relate. And then this isn't helping me. It's not helping you. Let's move on to something else. I want to learn. I want to hear about it. That's why I'm on the podcast, because I just want to hear the story. How did you help yourself? How did you help your child? So let's talk about your child. I'm sure that was very emotional for him, right? He was a little boy and he couldn't have something, and he wanted it. How did you help him with his emotions? Let's talk about that. How did you help your child?
So the sort of the defining moment, it came pretty quickly, actually, because we were in the grocery store and he's not quite 3 at this point, little boy. And at the time, there was very little health food in a regular grocery store, right? And what there was, particularly gluten-free stuff, was just, I mean, there was the reason people always sort of look down on it. It's because
Section, right? The grocery
it was, yeah, it was about this big. And they put it on this side, and on this side is the entire cereal aisle. And now picture all those boxes that are designed to appeal to children. They are marketed specifically for children to want it. And so here I am looking this way and, picking up mixes and things, trying to figure out if anything will work. And my little one comes up next to me. And at the time, he spoke like Elmer Fudd. And so he said to me, "This gluten-free?" And I looked at it and I said, "No, sweetie, that's not safe." And I turned back to what I was doing and put it down and started to walk. And within, I don't know, 4 steps or so, I realized he wasn't next to me. And I turn around and there he is standing there, this little boy with tears coming out of his, coming down his face. And I sat down. I sat down on the floor, right there in the grocery store aisle. He sat on my lap, and the two of us cried together. And I kept saying to him, "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry, but I will make this okay. I will figure this out. I will make this okay." And I didn't know at the time how I was going to do that, but I knew I was going to. And then when I realized I couldn't get him a birthday cake, that's when the bakery idea just crystallized. But it was even more than that because, like I said before, everything social deals around food. And everywhere he goes in his life, and he's 26 now, he has to be careful. He's different. What he does, what he's going to choose is different. So I made the decision that at home, he's never different. So every holiday, every dinner, it didn't matter what it was, everything we did was gluten-free. And I made sure that it was delicious and it was wonderful so that when he was home, he's not different. When he's out, he deals with it. And he's an adult now and he's perfectly capable of dealing with it. And, it became trendy. So now everybody knows what that means, which was helpful.
Menus when you go to restaurants.
Exactly. Exactly. And, it used to be that you had to speak to the chef and then we had to have a whole conversation and we had to talk about cooking methods every time we went somewhere. And for him, that was so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable to have to, it was always a fuss, always making a fuss. And honestly, it's one of the things that my older 2 kids will be like, "Mom, he can handle this. Mom, butt out, Mom. He's got this already." Because I'm still like, "Should we talk to the waiter? Should we talk?" You're like, "No, Mom, he's an adult now. Leave him alone."
That's so interesting. So let me talk about that for a second. So I was a waiter for like 20 years. I waited tables for like 20 years. And then as my children got older, and I'd watch parents, and one day I was waiting on this family, and the son, I don't know, was close to my son's age at the time. He was a teenager, and the mom was hovering and fussing over him, right? And I got it, and I'm like, oh God, is that what I look like? Thought that went through my head. I'm like, oh my God, is that what I look like? Because I recognized that I would do the same thing. And in that moment, I just learned to shut up and wait for him to ask for help. That was hard. That was hard as a parent to wait for them to ask for help. I've gotten a lot better about it now, but I was so grateful that I waited tables because I could see like things. I'm like, oh, that's what that looks like. I shouldn't do that.
That's great. And
But your kids
and
recognized it for you and they helped you.
they sure did. They actually really did. I learned so much from my children. Oh my
Oh, I
gosh.
think I think they're the greatest gift for learning from children because you don't remember what it was like to be a child, but you can see it when your children are growing up and see, oh, I should learn that. I should pay more attention to that stuff.
Well, and also they're really smart.
Oh yeah.
Raised really smart kids. They're smart people. So if they tell me something, I should listen to it.
Oh, they are really smart. So when my kids were little, they were little, and we'd be sitting on the playground, and all their friends would be playing with them, and their friends would come over and say, "Hey, can you tie my shoe?" And my kids would go ask somebody else. My mommy's not good at that. And the funny part about it is I'm not good at that. I'm still not good at that. And I'm in my 60s and I'm still not good at it. So, it's a great memory for me. They're brutally honest. They'll tell you the truth. It's funny. So,
Oh my gosh, yes.
it's so great. So so what's your biggest rise from the ashes moment? Is it something else, or is it the one you talked about with your son? And because you wrote to me that you had an eating disorder. Was it something like that? What's your biggest rise from the ashes moment?
Um, my mother got cancer for the first time about 6 months after I was married. And that was the beginning of 28 years of battling cancer with her. And my mom and I were joined at the hip. We were best friends. And knowing the end was coming and knowing that I was losing her, and well, anybody who's lost a parent understands. Um, but I turned to my daughter the I don't know if it was the day before my mom died. That's a little fuzzy, but I turned to my daughter and I said to her, I'm losing my mom, but you're not losing yours.
How old is she?
20, it was 8 years ago. She's 24.
Okay, yeah, okay, we have to be exact.
Yeah, right around there. And so yeah, I have an eating disorder. And yeah, any eating disorder is all about control. And when your life is out of control, you control that. And losing my mom was out of my control. And how things were going to unfold and everything we were dealing with was out of my control. And that's the perfect trigger. I mean, I was the whole last year or so of my mom's life. I was skin and bones. But I turned to my daughter and I I just looked at her and I said, "You're not going to lose your mom. I won't do that to you." And that meant that I had to eat. It meant that I had to get up and I had to go to work and we were teaching, I was working at her school at the time. but I was working as a, as a teaching assistant. And things sort of went along. And then a couple months later, an opportunity opened up to become a teacher, to go back to school and to, and to move forward with my life. And I did it. And it wasn't, I would not have been able to do it the year before because I couldn't have given it the time or the attention. But it was, I couldn't just sit down and spend my days crying. I had children. I had three children and I have a husband and my mom valued me. So I needed to put some kind of value on me too.
That's beautiful. She valued you and you saw the value in you. That's amazing. That's good.
Mhm.
Because not everybody gets that. You're lucky that you had a mom that valued you and showed you were
So
worth it,
lucky.
and I'm sure you passed that on to your children.
Mhm. Yeah, one of the greatest accomplishments of my life is that I raised a daughter who does not have food issues. She does not have body awareness
Even
issues.
just my daughter, I worked really hard on that because I
Yep.
had food and body issues, and I made sure
Yep.
my child didn't get that from me.
High five. High five.
I had to
Yep.
work really hard at that because I was not passing that on to her.
Exactly. Exactly. I was not going to do that to her.
Yep. And
So,
yeah, isn't that great?
yeah, it is truly one of the things I'm proudest of.
Proud parent moment. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good. Yay. Good us. You
Yeah.
know?
So we're coming to the end of the program. I have two more questions for you. The first one is, so what piece of advice on emotional intelligence can you give to my audience that could help them in a time that might be a little challenging?
The first thing I do, and I talk to people about this, is I talk about changing your language. It's the language. So think about this. And I'm going to put this into almost my, say with my work text, into in the context for my work, but this applies across anything. So instead of saying, oh, I'm just starting out, you say, I am applying 30 years of nursing experience to help people understand that pushing stress aside or burying stress is going to have serious health issues. You, by turning your language around and appreciating yourself and what you bring, by speaking with confidence about what you can do, that is huge. So instead of, I hope that I can help, I would say, I help overwhelmed entrepreneurs create systems that work by applying the same organizational methods I used in the classroom for 10 years. It's by really giving yourself that language and that it's empowering. It's empowering. And that's the key, is that when you feel that confidence, when you've changed your language and you've embraced this, then you show up differently. You stand differently and you feel different and you breathe different, and that really makes such a difference in your whole life.
Thank you for that. So, and if people want to learn more from you, how can they connect with you?
You can see my Facebook right there, but you can get me on Facebook, you can get me on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm absolutely always available and always happy to even just answer questions.
Well, thank you for that. So I'm Lisa Manzo. This is the Phoenix Mind Podcast, where we talk through the real talk, through the messy, the meaningful, the transformational work, the rise from the ashes moment, and we rise and we lead with emotional intelligence. And I will see you on the next episode.
This is the Phoenix Mind, where the fire refines. Together we rise, transform our lives. So subscribe, share the flame.